Here's something that might seem like a very cruel joke. This is an article from 2018, January 15th. And the headline is, "We have 5 years to save ourselves from climate change," Harvard scientist says. This is in 2018, beginning of 2018. So it's the middle of 2020. We have 2.5 years to save ourselves from climate change, according to this article. And again, going back 2 years, we have exquisite information about what the state is because we have a paleo record going back millions of years when the Earth had no ice at either pole. There was almost no temperature difference between the equator and the pole, said James Anderson, a Harvard University professor of atmospheric chemistry, best known for establishing that fluorocarbons were damaging the ozone layer. The ocean was running almost 10 C warmer all the way to the bottom than it is today, Anderson said, of the once and future climate. And the amount of water vapor in the atmosphere would have meant that storm systems would be violent in the extreme because water vapor, which is an exponential function of water temperature, Book Hermit, is the gasoline that fuels the frequency and intensity of storm systems. I didn't pull up this article on purpose. In response to what was going on in the chats, but it actually ties right in with what we were talking about or what we've been saying, that the past paleo records, the records of past extinction events, only showed signs of negative feedbacks occurring after the event had happened, not during or before. Yes, Kuro Hikes, I feel the same way about Nancy Pelosi. As in, God, I hope she goes away really, really soon. Yes, Had Valmer, we still got 2.5 years. So whether we have 2.5 years or 10 years or 12 years or 15 years, this is not a lot of years. Yes, Raza Remen, these geologists are always living in the past. Wah, wah, wah. Scott Andrews says, I doubt there will ever be an article in the mainstream media stating that it's too late to save ourselves. I don't know, man. After the article I read yesterday saying that they're figuring out a way to tell people that we're at 1.5 already in the next 4 years, right? This is the setup. The scientists are setting us up for like, and here we are past 1.5 already. I mean, they can only hide it for so long. They can't hide it for very long. And so they're figuring out a way to let people know, first slowly, then quickly, that we're already at 1.5 and that we're past doing anything about it. Jay Acker says, Book Hermit will be shook hermit once climate change becomes real. I don't know. You know, I really want that theory to be true. I would like it to be true. I don't think it's true. I would like it to be true. It would be great if it was true. Anyways, let's move on. This is from goodhousekeeping.com. This is from July 10th. A record-breaking heat wave will scorch the U.S. for multiple weeks in July. Kind of reiterating the story that I read the other day. National Weather Service is forecasting 75 records to be broken in the second weekend of July alone. Parts of California and Arizona will reach record high temperatures upwards of 126 Fahrenheit this week, according to the National Weather Service. The record heat wave will impact all 48 contiguous states. In the U.S. this month, health experts are warning people to keep an eye out for heat exhaustion and dehydration. Actually, what made me click on this article, somebody posted, I can't remember who, somebody posted this on Facebook, and the headline was "Rare Heat Wave." Okay. So rare, these heat waves that happen every single year, all year long. So rare. Potentially historic heat wave has blossomed across the South in early July, and expert meteorologists say that oppressive temperatures will spread across much of the country this month, even as we spend more time indoors during the coronavirus pandemic. National Weather Service has issued an excessive heat warning for southwestern states for the second weekend of July. Temperatures will reach as high as 120 Fahrenheit in areas of Arizona, California, and Nevada. Residents will swelter against 100 Fahrenheit plus daily highs in Texas, New Mexico, Oklahoma, and Kansas. Even milder regions in the Ohio Valley and mid-Atlantic seaboard will soar into periods of 100 Fahrenheit heat in the midst of July. So there you go. Heat stroke is a serious concern over the summer months on a regular basis, but it will be crucial to watch for now that America is in for a prolonged heat wave. According to experts at the Mayo Clinic, heat stroke and dehydration can present itself through a few different sly symptoms: headaches, a racing heart rate, nausea, vomiting, confusion, cramps, fatigue, or dark-colored urine. Well, I have all of those, even when it's not hot. No, I'm kidding. Of course, heat stroke and dehydration aren't the only concern during the upcoming heat wave. Medical experts are on guard as more people spend time indoors during the COVID-19 pandemic, where air conditioning may play a role in spreading airborne germs among families and any guests. So wait. I'm sorry. Oh my God, all the contradictory information about coronavirus is so like, stay indoors, coronavirus, stop the spread of coronavirus. If you stay indoors though, with the air conditioning on, you might be in danger of catching coronavirus. What are you going to do? Stay at home, go outside, wear a mask, don't wear a mask. Hang out with people, don't hang out with people. Go to the store, don't go to the store. Wash your hands, don't wash your hands. Wake up in the morning, don't wake up in the morning. What the hell? I can't, I'm not saying don't take it seriously. Take the coronavirus very seriously. People get it. I'm not laughing. I mean, it sucks that people are getting this. It's a shitty thing to get, but it's just, oh my God. The conflicting amounts of information out there are just, if the heat won't kill us, AC will. Says LC, yes. I don't know. I don't know what to do anymore. Now they're saying that the coronavirus is like airborne for a long time, so now you just got to wear a mask all day long. Wear it in your sleep. Just wear a mask, okay? Never take it off. I don't know. I don't know what to do. I really don't know. All you need to do is use a HEPA-rated filter for your central air system to filter out the virus. There you go, Mother Nature's son. Thank you for that tip. If you're over 60, stay home. Good tip, Rich Diana. Or if you're, if you have an immune problem, if you're in ill health, I mean, if you're over 60 and you're like, Jim Fix or something, did Jim Fix even live to 60? I don't know if he did. I think he was in his 50s when he died. Anyways, if you're over 60 and you're in peak health, yeah, you're probably okay. I'm just saying, like, if you're having problems, any kind of health problems, severe health problems or respiratory problems, then maybe stay at home. Lightning Rod, thank you. Lightning Rod says, you are doing something, Kevin. Trust me, I feel slightly smarter every time I'm here. Good. I feel slightly smarter, too, when I talk to y'all. When I turn off the camera, I turn off the video cam. I just go back to being some dude walking around his house. Anyways. Yeah, I mean, stay if you want to stay home, if you feel like staying home is the best way, then stay home. If you feel like wearing a mask all the time helps you out, wear a mask all the time. If you definitely should wear a mask around other people and, not endanger other people or make people feel endangered. I highly suggest that. Ryan Gorman says vitamin D deficiency has been the most common ailment among those that die from COVID. Interesting. Interesting. CB Unglesby, my friend Mike Horn, has loaded the family in a sailing and is sailing now from England to the Arctic. 3 days till at Greenland. Wow, that sounds like a serious trip. Exciting. That is adventuresome. Hero Hikes, vitamin D and vitamin B12 are the two vitamins everyone should supplement. And I would add vitamin C, please. Please. Take your vitamin C. LC says obesity and insulin resistance is epidemic. Yes. I mean, a lot of people have health issues. Take those seriously. Don't expose yourself. Yeah, I know, Rich Diana. I know Jim Fix had a heart attack while running. He was a famous runner who died while he was running. Had a heart attack, and I think he was in his 50s. I can't remember how old he was. Anyways, I was saying if you're over 60, and I was using Jim Fix as an example, but he didn't live to 60. Why am I laughing? It sucks. It's just funny because I used the wrong example. Be like Jim Fix and don't live to 60. I'm feeling dark today. Sorry guys. Dark humor on a Sunday morning. I apologize. Anyways, let's move on. This is from EcoWatch from July 8th. Climate disasters now happening weekly, UN official warns. A staggering new warning, staggering, quote unquote, from a top United Nations official that climate crisis-related disasters are now occurring at the rate of one per week. Hold on, guys, hold on. Occurring at the rate of one per week, with developing nations disproportionately at risk, provoked calls for immediate global action to combat the human-caused climate emergency. The warning came in an interview with The Guardian, which reported Sunday catastrophes such as cyclones Idai and Kenneth in Mozambique and the drought affecting India make headlines around the world, but large numbers of lower impact events that are causing death, displacement, and suffering are occurring much faster than predicted, said Mamie Mizutori, or Mami, I don't know, the UN Secretary General's Special Representative on Disaster Risk Education, or Reduction, totally different words. This is not about the future, this is about today. This means that adapting to the climate crisis could no longer be seen as a long-term problem, but one that needed investment now, she said. People need to talk more about adaptation and resilience. We talk about a climate emergency and a climate crisis, but if we cannot confront the issue of adapting to the effects, we will not survive. This is, wise words from Mamie Mizutori, or Mami. We have to confront the issue of adapting to the effects. We need to look at the risks of not investing in resilience. Well, or like, as in the case of somebody tweeting the other day that, we demand that New York not be underwater in 30 years. Okay. Somebody has the wrong idea about climate change and how it's going to work. And we have to be really honest with people about how it's going to work. As in, there are areas of the coast, we are just going to be underwater. New York is going to be underwater. Miami is going to be underwater. New Orleans is going to be underwater. Lots of places are going to be underwater. Places in Southern California going to be underwater. Going to be, not might be, not could not be if we take this certain precautions. No, going to be. Period. The end. End of story. Going to be. So live with that in mind, or proceed with the truth in your brain. The estimated annual cost of climate-related disasters is $520 billion. And also, again, in regards to the disasters, hurricanes, storms, flooding, etc., these heat waves, droughts, wildfires, these will happen. Will happen. Whether we try to mitigate them or not, whether we take precautions or not, they will happen. So you just absolutely just have to live with the knowledge in mind that they will happen, and you will probably not be spared. So move out of the way, or get out of the way, or go elsewhere, or do the things that you need to do to ensure that you're not engulfed in floodwaters or wildfire or whatever it is. And of course, I say this living in Los Angeles, so shows you what I know. Jay Acker says, Sony just came out with a wearable air conditioner so you can watch the pores die in free market style. Yeah. Oh, that's going to happen. I mean, AC is going to become like this thing that, well, people must have, right? So it'll be like government regulated, mandated. So if you don't have AC, you're a lunatic, crazy person. And, you might get ticketed or go to jail or something if you don't have AC. Or you get fined. Because that'll help you get AC, right? If you get a fine from, someone, from somebody at City Hall, if somebody fines you, that's going to help you get AC. But on top of that, yeah, AC will be a very valuable commodity, and a lot of people won't be able to afford it. And then there you go. Let's keep going with this. Story. While the additional cost of building infrastructure that is resistant to the effects of global heating is only about 3%, or $2.7 trillion in total over the next 20 years. There's not a lot of money in the context of infrastructure spending, but investors have not been doing enough. Well, but let's talk about resilience being maybe not building infrastructure, but maybe giving people, why don't you give people money to move out of a disaster zone, right? Declare certain areas, this is going to be a disaster. If it's not a disaster zone right now, it will be in the next 20 years. Just be honest with people. And instead of reinvesting in infrastructure or rebuilding these buildings or trying to make them more resilient or whatever, why don't you give people that money and say, take yourselves, take your family and your things, and move a couple miles inland, move to another area where this won't be a problem in the next 20 years. We'll help you do that. Because I'm sorry, you're just not going to save Miami or New York or New Orleans or Newport Beach. You're not going to save them. It's just not going to happen. Anyways, this lady is just talking about infrastructure, which is just so ridiculous. We're going to spend billions and 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 billions of dollars building like seawalls and raising houses. Well, that makes sense. Because humans just absolutely cannot retreat. Humans just don't have the idea of retreat in their minds as a plausible way forward. Like they can't just say like, we're going to give up, yeah, this area is not going to belong to us much longer. It's going to belong to the ocean. So just let it go. Let it go. Irk1 says move to the basement. Or you can do that. The planet is resilient if we only give her a chance, says TCR Galaxy. Indeed, I agree with you. Gene says we are already losing the town of Punta Arenas. I don't know where that is. Every high tide now. That's Costa Rica? Every high tide now. There you go. There you go. And this is going to happen more and more as time goes forward. You're not going to, and what's the point of like raising your house on stilts? Why don't you just move back? I don't know. Real estate being what it is, but real estate isn't going to be worth much in some areas. So again, instead of rebuilding these areas or whatever, or making them resilient, why not give people money to move? Why not say, we'll buy your house at whatever it's worth right now. Here you go. Here's your ticket out of here. But it's only available for, right? You got to actually just say something like, look, this is going to happen in the next 20 years. We're going to extend this to you in the next 5 years. You can get out of here. But if you miss it, you miss it. Ryan Gorman says, instead of planning to head north to live out a 2+ warmer world, should I look closer to the equator since climate changes there won't be as drastic? I have no idea, Ryan. I was just reading that article that said that basically the temperature was almost the same at the poles as it was at the equator, which means hot. So I guess it doesn't really matter, because the temperature is going up so quickly in the Arctic anyways, or in the northern latitude. So moving north might help you for a little while, probably for the next decade or so, maybe 2, which is fine. But eventually it won't really matter. Scott Andrews says even near Houston, there are places where Houston is on a bayou. There are places where they have to raise the houses, yes. And I don't understand that, I must stay here and raise my house on stilts so I can wait out the floods that happen every other month or whatever. I don't understand. Judy Truitt says there's also this whole thing called community, which is destroyed when populations move. Yeah, I know that's what's keeping people. People have a very strong tie to where they live, and their community, and their. I get all that, and it doesn't really matter. You're going to have to go elsewhere or move. You can move a whole community elsewhere. You can start another community, but I get all that. It just. Again, it's one of those things that does in the face of what nature has in store, nature doesn't care. And, you can hold on to that community, but at some point, it's kind of like holding on to family. Like if family is really toxic, if you have a family that's incredibly toxic and abusive, but it's my family, like you don't have to. I understand the tie that people have to families, but like, is that really helpful to anybody? Anyways, let's read, to end this, something from George Sacroclides. This was sent to me by Michael Campy. And this is titled How to Collapse in One Piece from July 8th. A biology lesson in degrowth. The truth is beginning to sink in. Epidemiologists are warning us that COVID-19 may be here to stay. It may become endemic, mutate, or just like the ordinary flu, become impossible to vaccinate against. Mounting evidence suggests that the virus is airborne, which, if confirmed, will mean that many occupations will be condemned to permanent extinction. Either way, after months of lockdown, it appears that there is no end in sight. We need to buckle up for the short, long term. The medium short term or simply the long term. Who knows, really? The world economy has been battered too long, too much, so much that any talk of recovery at this stage is not only a premature but also extremely hypothetical, given that we have barely began the downhill trajectory. When the IMF's Christine Lagarde begins speaking in hippie language, you know that something is terribly wrong. So far, most predict the economic recession to wind up twice as big as the world financial crisis, and worse than the Great Depression. Whatever the size, it will be a recession that will mark an entire generation and change the course of humanity on a global scale in ways so significant, so existential that we cannot yet speculate exactly as to who, what, and when. We are in completely uncharted territory. What this means is that at this stage we should be concentrating on collapsing rather than on recovering, because a cushioned fall can make the difference between injury and death. We are standing between the only two choices currently available: collapse and survive or collapse and die. Growing ourselves out of the collapse is the approach that many governments are trying to sell. Trillions of support packages for the big companies, massive infrastructure projects, money printing, even free checks to citizens to stimulate consumption, all of which are approaches which have been proven to fail again and again. They only create temporary fixes, but permanent debt bubbles, which will eventually burst at the expense of the poor and the environment. A better way of approaching collapse is by observing, emulating, and replicating what happens in nature. Billions of years of evolution have equipped organisms with ingenious ways in which they can survive a mass extinction event, lack of food, even lack of water. These mechanisms are proven to work, unlike the growth paradigm of capitalism, which has only been around for a couple hundred years and has ended up destroying the planet. Just like a young plant that is actively growing green shoots, an economy that is actively growing is at its most vulnerable. Even more so, a battered economy that is being forced to grow by artificial monetary injection. A patient being put on a high fructose corn syrup drip and a treadmill at the same time never really recovers. In order to recover, this economy should be licking its wounds first. It should be resting. It should be minimizing exertion, conserving energy and channeling it where it matters, the sectors that ensure a healthy society, as opposed to those that give a quick boost in GDP. This is exactly what plants do when they begin to run out of water. Dehydration, if severe and prolonged, triggers the activation of an elaborate and aggressive emergency plan that is encoded in a set of genes that are so centrally important that they actually take up a fair chunk of the plant's DNA. This emergency plan is a metabolic cascade called apoptosis, a Greek word from ptosis, literally meaning collapse. To make things even more clear for you, the alternative term for apoptosis is PCD, programmed cell death. Yep, plants, in fact animals too, have a self-destruct button, and it is absolutely genius. The very first thing that stops is growth. Any new shoots are stopped dead in their tracks. Growing shoots when water is running out would be equal to suicide. Next are flowers and fruit. They are extremely expensive for the plant to produce, so they are literally dropped. If moisture conditions worsen further, the leaves begin to curl. Now the plant has stopped growth and dropped fruit and flowers. It actually has lower energy needs, which means that it can lose some of its solar panels, its leaves. This will also minimize transpiration, which is perspiration for plants. It happens through the leaves and results in huge water losses. By dropping leaves as a measure of the last resort, plants manage to essentially lower their monthly bills down to almost zero, avoid complete dehydration, and manage to survive the long wait until the rains arrive. Beneath that yellow parched summer lawn, there are healthy living roots. Grass is a plant that can go through multiple apoptotic cycles in just a few weeks, constantly alternating between PCD and active growth depending on the weather. It does this so automatically and efficiently, completely at peace with constantly hanging at the edge of death on a permanent basis. Programmed cell death is drastic, sure, but it saves the life of the plant. It does not only put an end to the plant's most wasteful activities, it ensures vital nutrients from leaves are sequestered into the sap of the stem before those leaves are finally let go. If needed, the entire plant may retreat into its root or corm. Apoptosis is part of the natural life cycle of every plant on Earth, from tulips that crawl back into their bulbs each year to deciduous trees whose leaves commit mass suicide in autumn, having donated all their juices back to the tree. From tumbleweeds who die just at the right time to be picked up by the high wind and disperse their seeds throughout the desert, to a banana that turns brown, it is all regulated down to the finest detail by a tightly controlled cascade of hormones, decomposition enzymes, transport molecules, and chemical messages orchestrated by each cell's central government, its nuclear DNA. Collapse is coming. Why not make it PCD, programmed capitalism death? Let's start thinking about what needs to be cut first from the economy, the wasteful consumption practices of the elites, the food waste of the supermarkets, the energy waste of the fashion industry, the fat cat central banks that print money that they don't have, the fascist stimulus packages that fund disaster capitalists and rob the taxpayers. The things that we want to keep are the people, the healthcare, the smiling faces of the children. We, the people, are the trunk of the tree where all the juice gathers after the leaves drop. So that one bright spring day, the tree can start growing again. Good stuff from George Saccoclides. I hope you all enjoyed that. Hey guys, remember to like, share, and subscribe, and you can support the channel. The links below, PayPal, Patreon, Square. Also, if you'd like to watch the live streams, you can watch the live streams on my Patreon channel. You can subscribe for as little as $1. So hopefully I will see you over there, and thanks so much.